Some show up at Keeneland just to be beautiful, some for the burgoo. Me, it's because the best handicapping challenge on God's green earth is right here in Kentucky. Star horses come from Florida, California, and New York, Arkansas, and Louisiana, all to what undoubtedly is the greatest horse racing melting pot in America.
Into the stretch at Keeneland, and Flight Line just moves right by. Life is good.
Win here and you've done something. Love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. That's Keeneland. Now, let's get handicapping. And welcome in, everybody, to the Keeneland Look Ahead on this Tuesday night. Hope you had a great Easter holiday from my family to yours. Hope it was a great time. And we're set for week number 2 of the Keeneland Spring Meet. And 2 days into the books, we still have, 13 days of racing to go. A 5-day racing week, Wednesday through Saturday, followed by another 5-day racing week on week 3. And then we'll finish it up with the 3-day week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the sprint to the finish before turning things over to Churchill Downs the week before the Run for the Roses. Talk some Kentucky Derby talk because it was big news at Keeneland over the weekend because things really fell in the Toyota Bluegrass, the Bluegrass's way, because 5 horses from the Toyota Bluegrass are now securely in the field for the Kentucky Derby if they want to run. 5 of the top 17 point getters. So this was a good result, the way the points shook out, what the horses brought to the dance, which ones earned what they needed to get into the Kentucky Derby. If they want to run, 5 horses out of the Toyota Bluegrass could be in the Run for the Roses, including Tapit Trice, who in my estimation is going to battle for second or third favoritism in the Kentucky Derby. His stablemate Forte will be the favorite. And then I think it's, believe it or not, I think it's the Japanese horse, Dermo Sotogaki, who's going to get a lot of play with Tapit Trice. And I think those two are going to vie for second favorite in the Kentucky Derby field when the wagering ensues coming up in a couple weeks, but a lot of time to think about that. We can think ahead to the Derby too this week at Keeneland because the Lexington Stakes on Saturday could put maybe 2 horses into the field. They'll draw the Lexington on Wednesday for Saturday. And the interesting thing here is Confidence Game winner of the Rebel Stakes is going in the Lexington. He needs a start. He hasn't run since March for Keith DeSormo. He's come through the Lexington in the past to the Kentucky Derby, so we know he likes this path. This horse already has enough points, Confidence Game, to run in the Kentucky Derby with this 50-point win. 45 looks to be about the cutoff point right now. Interestingly enough, Disarm, the runner-up in the Louisiana Derby, has 40 points, and he's just a couple out of the Kentucky Derby chase right now. So if he runs back in the Lexington as expected for Steve Asmussen, he could get with a first or second place finish up over that 45 threshold and be into the field as well. We could see 2 horses out of the Lexington. Added up, the 5 from the Bluegrass, the 2 from the Lexington, 7 of the starters in this year's Kentucky Derby could be out of the Keeneland meet. And then you add the 3 from Japan, and half the field is Japan and Keeneland, which would be a pretty interesting makeup of this year's Run for the Roses cast. If you saw the races last weekend at Keeneland, of course, it's a little different than what we see this week. Still a lot of stakes races on the docket this week, but it was really stakes heavy opening weekend. We'll get into a little more of the Turfway horses, the Kentucky year-round circuit types that I think are going to have success in weeks 2, 3, and 4. What we saw opening week then, Turfway did pretty well. They picked up 3 winners in the first 2 cards, and I thought that was really good because 2 of those wins for the Turfway preppers came on the turf, and we usually do not see that at Keeneland. The Turfway horses usually go synthetic to dirt and have success at Keeneland and don't have much success at all on the turf. The fact that they won 2 turf races opening weekend tells you that Turfway winter meet is as strong as I thought it was coming into the meet, where it's the best Turfway meet we've seen in decades there. Higher purses, bigger fields. Weather was pretty good. Yeah, I know some of the fans watching around the country will say the weather was good at Turfway over the winter. By Turfway standards, it was pretty good weather. So a really great racing meet with all that and purse money and the competition. That was a strong meet at Turfway. I think we're going to see the fruits of that labor over the winter really start to pay off here in week number 2. The 3 wins by the Turfway horses opening weekend, I thought, were pretty significant. Speed was really good on the main track, I thought, opening week. You did have Tapit Trice come from what is 8 lengths off the pace in the chart after the opening quarter mile. But by the time they turned on the backstretch, he was 3-4 lengths off of it. And we didn't see any horses close any deeper than that from the half-mile point in a race all the way home all weekend. So I think the dirt races will continue to lean a little bit forward towards speed. You don't have to be right up absolutely on the front, but you can't be coming from the clouds on the main track. Let's have a big weather change, wind change, something like that at Keeneland, I would anticipate that we're going to see Speed do very well. So that's a look back at the past races, a little look ahead to this weekend. Look, 2 Breeders' Cup champs already have won at the Keeneland meet. Goodnight Olive won the Madison. We saw Caravel win in the Shakertown against the boys, defending her title, if you will, at Keeneland as the top sprinter of any sex. She was outstanding this past weekend. And now we'll look for a 3rd Breeders' Cup champion back, because the entries today were taken for Friday's Maker's Mark Mile. And Modern Games is in that one. Modern Games, of course, won the Breeders' Cup Mile at Keeneland here in the fall. The previous fall, he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf out at Del Mar. And his other win in the North American ranks was his only other start in North America in the Woodburn Mile. He's 3 for 3. He's coming back over from Europe. Modern Games headliner in the Maker's Mark Mile on Friday. Field for that race drawn today includes Chez Pierre, who's a good one, won the Henry Clark last year in Maryland. Emmanuel's won 2 turf stakes down in Florida and looks really good. And all the horses coming out of the Emmanuel race have been really live for Todd Pletcher. Emmanuel's in the Maker's Mark Mile. Dr. Zemph is in the Maker's Mark for trainer Chad Brown. This horse has one start in the U.S. It was a win at Gulfstream. Previously had been running in Group Company, Group 3 winner in Ireland. So second time U.S. for Chad Brown. In Love is in there, a past stakes winner here at Keeneland, all taking on Modern Games. Should be an outstanding field for Friday's race. Again, those entries are already drawn. So 5 days of racing this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are already drawn. Hopefully you get the handicapping ahead, and that's what this is all about here on the Keeneland Look Ahead. We've got an 8-race card as we turn our attention to Wednesday, and these 8-race cards are very unique in that you get a lot of overlap in races in terms of pick 4s and pick 5s. If you like to bet the multi-race wagers, you're going to see several races that are just kind of mishmashed amongst all of those, and you really want to get your opinion set up in those. So let's go to the big picture for the first time here in week 2 as we look at the 8-race setup coming up and how the card lines up with the multi-race wagers. You got a pick 5 in race number 1 that starts off the early pick 5. The early pick 4 starts in race number 2. Pick 6 on an 8-race card. The final 6 on the program begins in race 3. Then in race number 4, we call these swing races because race number 4 starts the late pick 5. But it's also going to be part of the early pick 5, races 1 through 5. It's going to be part of the early pick 4, races 2 through 5. So race number 4 has got 3 different legs going for it: the early pick 5, the late pick 5, and the early pick 4. Now we go to race number 5. As you get to the right-hand column, this starts the late pick 4. Well, this is going to be part of the early pick 5, 1 through 5, the early pick 4, 2 through 5, and the late pick 5, 4 through 8. And that's, of course, kicking off its own leg in leg A of the late pick 4. So the race number 5 is a swing race, part of 4 different betting sequences. So try to make your opinions count in these cards where races 4 and 5 are the big swing races. And as it works out here, I think we're kind of chalky in some of the other races, but I think we've got a couple little plays that we can kind of try to dig around in races 4 and 5 to get into some action. Then I think the other best race to bet on the card might be the 7th. So I'll try to get my key plays lined up and try to make a little connection and some bingo on those. We didn't have any luck the first 2 days of the meet with our key plays. Of course, they were highly successful for us last spring meet, last fall meet in 2022. Didn't have much luck at all with the key plays the first 2 days of the meet. A couple second place finishes, a couple that were just off the mark completely. So we had 5 winners the first 2 days, but they were kind of short prices. If you follow me on Bluegrass Day on Sunday, you probably gave up verifying we had in the Bluegrass, got nailed on the wire. You probably gave up at that point. We did hit it the 10th and 11th races on the way out the door. So there were short prices. I'm not taking any credit for them whatsoever, but I will call them momentum for week number 2. We picked 2 in a row, then we're moving on here, and we're going to pick up the slack. But 3 winners opening day, 2 on the second day card. None of them have paid anything of any real significance at this point. So we got to up the handicapping ante here and get to work and get the job done. So let's go to our Keeneland Handicapper Selectors box for the first time tonight. Again, these are available free at Keeneland.com in the Handicappers Consensus box. You can take a look at the consensus picks for Scott Hazelton, Tom Leach, myself, Gabby Gaudette, Kim Nelson. Gabby coming off a pretty nice Sunday. She had a couple good-sized winners there. Tom Leach had 8 winners opening weekend, 5 opening day, including some big prices. So good handicapping by Tom to get the meet started. We'll start here in race number 1. This is a claiming $25,000 race. 7 furlongs. They call it the Beard course, the about 7 furlong distance. If you follow Keeneland, you'll see that the Beard course is basically a chute. Let a lot of tracks have for like 7 furlong and mile races. just renamed the Beard course for one of the original founders of Keeneland when they start out of the chute there. But the race difference is it's about 7 furlongs. It's actually 178 feet longer than 7 furlongs. A lot of people ask that question. What's the difference with the about distance at Keeneland? So it's 7 furlongs plus 178 feet, so almost 60 more yards. Look at almost a quarter of a furlong there longer. So it's like 7 1/4 if you want to look at it that way. Statistically, in these races, you want to be pretty close to the pace in one-turn sprints. No different here in starter allowance race, claiming races, these lower level kind of races. It certainly emphasizes speed. You don't want to be too far. The average winner in these races, starter allowance going 7 furlongs, less than a half length off the lead after the opening half mile. So you want to be up close into the mix. I think horses turning back in distance actually have a little bit of success in this. 8 of 13 winners have cut back from a 2-turn prep. When we look at spring meet, mid-level claimers like this going the 7 furlong trip. So 8 out of the 13 winners did cut back from a 2-turn race. I think that's why I'm going with Mirth and Merriment in here. This is a horse who showed speed going a mile and 16th last time out at Turfway. Shortens the trip a bit here for Jason Cook, looking for his first win of 2023. But I think Mirth and Merriment's got inside speed. Joe Rocco Jr. should hustle this one out of the gate. And look, frankly, there's not a whole lot in this race. When I first made the handicapping selection, I'm like, I'm taking a trainer who's only had 8 starters on the year and hasn't won with any of them. Then I kind of look down, well, who's he up against, right? And you look at this, 8 horses in this race. The trainers of the 8 horses in this race have 9 total wins in 2023. So don't get hung up on the barns here, and there's really not a lot of angles there. But I do think the angle here is the cutback in distance, the inside speed. This race should play to Mirth and Merriment. That's my pick, but not a wildly confident pick in this race. And I think you want to get some coverage. I don't think you want to start out your pick 5 on this day with just singling in here with Mirth and Merriment. You want to get a few others in there. I thought the inside 3 were all useful in here. Look, those are horses that are 3-1, 2-1, and 4-1 in the morning line. So I'm not very creative. I don't think this is going to be a big upset race, but look, favorites in these 13 races we talked about going 7 furlongs, starter allowance in the spring meet, 13 races that we've seen like this, 8 favorites have won. The average winner's been 3-1. So they have not been very creative. So I'm not being very creative in this spot. We'll play the trends 1, 3, and 2 for me in race number 1. We go to the second race on the card, and this is a baby dash, 4.5 furlongs. We know this is Wesley Ward territory. We talk about it all the time. Second race on the card is going to start a pick 4. So are we just going to anchor down with Wesley Ward in here with Hibernacle the 12? Is that the way just to kind of get started and single through? I would suggest so. Wesley Ward has won more of these 2-year-old races than anybody by a landslide. He won the first of the meet last week. I assume he's going to get off to another big start here. What we saw with this horse, Bledsoe, on opening weekend was interesting because Wesley Ward was the breeder of the horse. He ran the sire. He had ran the dam. He was the owner of the horse. He was the trainer. And like, look, Wesley's first horse of the meet. He's not here to run second or third. Bledsoe won. Hibernacle's in the same spot. By Sire Hoot Nanny, Wesley Ward the breeder, Wesley Ward the owner, Wesley Ward the trainer. He's trying to get all the candy here again, so I would assume Rosario's back aboard, but the 12 Hibernacle's very live. Wouldn't worry about the outside post in there. It's probably just a Wesley Ward single and move on with it. And when you're looking at the early multi-race wagers, pick 4s, pick 5s, I don't think you want to get too deep in here. We do know if you beat Wesley Ward, the average winner last spring was 14-1 in the races where he lost. So if you're not taking Wesley, feel free to go ahead and jump in at something at a price. The 9 Happy Baytown interests me a little bit. This one has a bullet workout over the track at Keeneland for Paul McEntee. McEntee is a trainer who's had a couple big price winners here the last couple years in the spring meet with these baby races. So it's been a decent angle with the barn, 6-1 in the morning line, but not connections that are apt to get bet. So Happy Baytown, maybe if you're looking for somebody else other than the Wesley Ward trainee in here to take a look at. If you look across the way, Mourne Mountains is also a Wesley Ward horse who's working bullets in the morning. 13 also eligible. So Tom Leach did a good job including that one in the selections. Certainly if the 13 Mourne Mountains draws into the race, I would adjust my picks and include that one in there. I think you'd want to use both Wards in that case. And sometimes Wesley will scratch one of his horses to get another in off the AE list that he prefers. I don't think in this case with Hibernacle, Rosario, Rodriguez on the 13, I think probably Hibernacle's the stronger one of the two. Plus Wesley owns, trains, breeds the 12. He's just the trainer of the 13. So, he'd want to win with either one of them, but I don't think he's going to scratch the 12 to get the 13 in the race the way I look at it. But certainly if 13 more Mountains draws in, you'd want to give that one some consideration. Let's move to race number 3 on the Wednesday card at Keeneland. Jeremy Plonk here from Horse Player Now. Those of you joining in as we progress through, welcome into the show. We'll go through all 8 races on this Wednesday card at Keeneland. Again, week 2 of the meet. We're back to the 1:05 post time to get things underway on 1 o'clock, I should say, straight up on Wednesday to get things underway after that early start time on Saturday. That was special for Bluegrass Day and the extra races on the card. But we're back to our 1 o'clock start time. Race number 3 on the card will start the pick 6. We had a pick 6 carryover from Friday to Saturday. It was hit on Saturday, so we start anew in the pick 6 to begin week number 2. And maiden special weights here. We got older maiden specials. You kind of look for horses in here that have some experience. We've had 39 maiden specials in the spring going 6 furlongs. And 6 experienced horses, 2 first-time starters. How do I have this broken down? I can't read my writing here, but we want to lean to the experienced runners for sure. First-time starters do click a little bit in these races, but certainly the lean is the horses with some experience. You got Amaretti in here, who's a half the Caramel Swirl. Caramel Swirl was 2 for 2 at Keeneland as a racehorse. This horse is half is excellent. Won the Raven Run Stakes, also won here coming up from Gulfstream back last year. So Amaretti, well-bred, well-connected. Bill Mott also was the trainer of Caramel Swirl, bringing this one up. Flavian Pratt off the layoff, but I wouldn't be too worried about Amaretti not being fit enough to go 6 furlongs. Bill Mott will have this one ready to go at 6 furlongs, you can be sure. The favorites in these races, we're not looking at a complete dominance. Favorites have won these maiden special weight. The older horses here is what we're looking at. About 38%. That's what you're looking at as an average run of favorites. We can get some prices in here, but you definitely want horses near the front in race number 3. Amaretti, the horse to beat in here. I'll go to the picks page here and let you see what everybody's got. I'm taking Amaretti. No, big shakes here. Even money in the morning line. Kiki Crazy, the 2 now is a nice price at 20-1 in the morning line. This horse is coming off a decent effort going longer at Fairgrounds. Now cuts back the trip. Should like to run short here. I like the Malibu Moons at Keeneland. Malibu Moon was the top long shot sire last year at Keeneland. Sent out a couple horses here that won at really nice prices. I believe the average winner on Malibu Moon was somewhere like 10, 12, 14-1 last year. So Kiki Crazy, one that might like the course, showed a little speed going longer, shorten up. Those kind of don't win often, but they do hit the board. And if you're looking at an obvious winner in Amaretti, the 3 perhaps, then Kiki Crazy underneath at 20-1 could help out nicely on the exotics. The Princess Says and the Kid's Last Laugh, or the other picks for our handicappers here. The 4, the Princess Says, coming off a second behind Peacock Alley. Peacock Alley came out of that race at Fairgrounds and ran here opening day, ran 5th, a disappointing race in Allowance Company. So I don't know if the race the Princess Says comes out of is as strong as maybe it looks on paper. Second beaten 3 lengths as the favorite. But again, Peacock Alley came out of that race and did not run well here opening week, 5th in Allowance Company. We'll see how this one fares. Irad Ortiz rides for Chris Hartman, certainly high percentage jock, high percentage trainer. You don't see them team up very often. In fact, I can't remember them teaming up. Maybe they have. But strong connections. They're going to get a lot of play. But for me, it's Amaretti and the 2 Kiki Crazy, maybe a little 3-2 exacta here, 3rd race. 4th race on the card as we go back and see what kind of wagers are starting and rolling through here. This is the first of our swing races. Pick 5 starts here. Again, it's part of the early pick 5, the early pick 4, and starts the late pick 5. This being race number 4 here. And this is my solid price play that I've got in here. Look, I picked some favorites early, right? We know we got Wesley Ward at a short price. We got an even money shot. We think the race number 1 goes formful. We got the even money shot in race number 3. This is the first time where I actually want to crack my wallet out and play intra-race and kind of really get involved on the card. I'm going with number 10 in here. Keen Air comes out of a really good race at Fairgrounds. This horse ran 3rd last time behind Courthouse Cove, and he's a bomb. Those 2 came back and ran 1-2 in Allowance Company next time. So this is where I think at 6-1 in the morning line, Keen Air with a bullet workout since that race. Second off the layoff. I like that form cycle. Horses usually generally need a race for a lot of these barns. Some barns come firing out right off the layoff, and certainly more than they used to. But for some conservative barns like Dallas Stewart, give them a race, come back, and then second time more ready to fire. The bullet workout sense tells me that the 10 Keen Air is a very interesting play in here. And I love it that I'm on the island. Nobody else has Keen Air anywhere in their selections. And at 6-1 in the morning line, that tells me This is a solid price that's going to hold a nice price. And obviously, the logical horses Headline Report and Heartbreaker, the 5 and the 6, are the ones I have underneath. And that's, what a lot of the other folks have on top. Don't Wait Up with Irad Ortiz up is top choice for Tom Leach in here. So a couple other options, but obviously 5, 6 are the main players. The ones mixed in there with a lot of the handicappers. But I think we can beat them with the 10. And so let's get Keen Air in there and see what we can do. When you're talking in the fourth race, if we can separate ourselves here, and I'm talking single, folks, because let's try to separate ourselves from the rest of the pack. I don't want to spend a lot of money on this early pick 4, early pick 5. That doesn't mean I don't want to use a lot of combinations. I might still spend a $50 ticket, but if you're limited combinations, you might play for $5, $10. And if you're right, you're collecting. But, if we get through 3 deep in the opener, probably using the 3 logicals. In race 2, you're single in Wesley Ward. In race 3, it looks like a single with the even money morning line shot. And now let's be gutsy here in single at 6-1 in race number 4. And then we can get ourselves to the 5th race and see if we can't get to a cash out leg where there's a big field. And I think this is the best intra-race betting race on the card in race number 5. I really like Giroux in here. Race number 5 coming up. One of my best bets of the day. Mike Maker does better with these long-distance turf horses at Keeneland than anybody in Allowance Company. He's got 4 wins at the 9 furlong Allowance Company in the spring. No other trainers got that many. Logical horses run fairly well in these races. Favorites win the percentage you'd expect them to win. It's not a chaos kind of race, that sort of thing like that. And horses from Gulfstream have done really well in here. Horses coming back and making their seasonal debut are the other place to look for. So you get these Keeneland turf races in the spring and Allowance Company. It's Gulfstream horses and horses coming off the long layoff. That's typically the battle cry. Giroux likes this course, has run well here in the past. I just think it all sets up. Beautiful post draw on post 3, comes back fresh. It's Irad Ortiz. I'm all in for the 3 in this race. The other logical horse is the 8, and that's being Dripping Gold. Shug McGahee sends this one out. Classy runner, a horse who's been in some stakes company, allowance performer, knocking on the door, New York, Florida. I think Dripping Gold will end up the favorite in here. I think Giroux's got a lot of those 2nd, 3rd, 4th place finishes. It's going to scare some people away to put on the win end, but I'm really all in for him today. So let's go with Giroux on top in race number 5. And this is a key play for me because I think you go too deep. I think Dripping Gold you definitely want to use in the multi-race wagers, but no more than that. And Dripping Gold's going to be the favorite, I think, as we get through this. Messiah Warrior, the 13, if drawing in off the AE list, would certainly merit some consideration. So keep that one in mind as Gabby's got Messiah Warrior on top. But even still, a bit of a come from behind style with Messiah Warrior and that outside post draw. I'd still rather be on Giroux here. I like the jock fit. This horse has been ridden in the past. Santana, who's more of a speed jock. You get the Ortiz here. Got beat at Saratoga after making the lead go at 1.5 miles. I think the 1.1 miles is going to be perfect for Giroux and the timing with Irad Ortiz riding. So one of my key plays of the day. Now we got a big field in here. So anytime you got a horse you like and a big field, that starts to open up the tries, the supers, those kind of bets like that to me, because you don't want to be betting trifectas and superfectas in small fields. Field size is so important to what your payoffs are going to be, because remember, the losing tickets pay the winning tickets in horse racing. That's what pari-mutuel betting is all about. So if you've got like a 6-7 horse field, the trifectas aren't going to pay that much because the number of losing tickets just aren't going to be that great. There's not enough combinations to keep sending it out. Then say a 6-horse field, it's 6 times 5 times 4. So 6 times 5 is 30, times 4 is 120. There's only 120 different combinations a trifecta can come in when you run a 6-horse field. In a 10-horse field, it's 10 times 9 times 8. So that's 90 times 8 is 720. So there's 720 ways a 10-horse field can come in a trifecta. There's 120 ways a 6-horse field can come in. That's a difference of 600 more combinations that are all 599 of them have to be losers, right? There's only one winning combination. So there's so many more losing tickets to pay the winning tickets. And that's why field size is so important if you're going to bet tries and supers and bets like that. So we have a big field of 12. We have a horse we really like in Giroux. So I think you want to play Giroux on top, and then key, and then spread and get horses underneath, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, work some prices in there. Of course, there's some other logical horses, Dripping Gold's in there. I think the 11 Explosive's one that you want to use in there, a horse who typically is right around things, an Explosive 6-1 in the morning line. So, 3 all 11, 3 11 all. And if we can get our right horse on top, we can get the 11 horse underneath, 2nd or 3rd. Now all of a sudden we're looking at a potential really nice trifecta if we can get a little big bingo in there and some long shot second or third. So that's the way I'm going to approach it. It's one of my key bets on the card. Race number 5. And again, this is also part of one of those swing races starting the late pick 4. It's part of all 4 major sequences, all 5 when you count the pick 6. So everything's involved here through Giroux, and I'm going to really hone in on that one. I think that's the horse you want to use and focus in on. Dripping Gold, if you want to add the second horse, for sure, in the pick 4s, pick 5s. But even if you just wanted to single in there and keep this a very focused ticket, I would have no argument with that whatsoever in the 5th race. Let's move on now to race number 6 on the Wednesday card here at Keeneland. 6th race is where we've got Street Swag for a couple handicappers, Money Run for a couple. Fight Fiercely is Tom Leach's pick in here. So a couple to consider here amongst the public handicappers. I went with the 6 Money Run. Again, this is a 7-5 morning line shot. Beaten favorite in 2 straight down in Fairgrounds, but I just think the best horse in this race. But I don't have a strong conviction in here. So if you want to go against Irad Ortiz and Steve Asmussen at a short price on a horse who's lost twice at 4-5 in the last 2 starts, you're not going to get a big argument. The 6.5 furlongs could be what trips him up. This Son of Run Happy is a horse who's kind of given up the lead in the last 2. Did go under the front and go all the way in the mud at Sam Houston, but there's just not another horse in here that makes a compelling argument to me jumping out. I think the 5 Captain Jack is a little bit interesting because Ian Wilkes has had a really nice start to the meet. Ian Wilkes only ran, I think, 3 or 4 horses opening week. He had 3 of them in the exacta. They were knocking on the door. So Captain Jack is one in here you might want to consider at a nice price, maybe use with the 6 Money Run, maybe take a shot on top. This is a race where I think you want to get coverage, though. I'm not wild about this race. Money Run's going to be a short price favorite. It's been beaten a couple times. So when you're playing the pick 4s, pick 5s late in the day, again, this 6th race is going to be part of the late pick 5, the pick 6, of course, and the late pick 4. I think you want to get some coverage in here. 6, 5, and 7, I think, are all very useful in here. And if you want to go even a little bit deeper, that would not be a big argument from me. I also think in race number 7 coming up next, we've got a chance to hit a nice price. So let's get live, use a couple horses in that 6th race. Don't get stumped by the 7-5 morning line chalk that's been beaten a couple times. Don't get your ticket stunted there where you're not alive to get into the 7th race, because this is where I've got a nice long shot play here. 7th race on the card. This is the Turf Allowance feature. I'm going with number 2, Sweet Serenade. This horse comes in from Gulfstream Park. The Gulfstream Park horses have just dominated the Keeneland Turf Allowance races in the spring. These are the races where you really want to focus in on the Gulfstream horses here. Sweet Serenade comes from Gulfstream for respected trainer Roger Atfield. Disappointing effort last time, but if you go back to the race 2 starts ago from the 10 hole, made a nice wide move and then just flattened out. So let's toss the last one, going 7.5. That was a little bit shorter trip. Junior Alvarado gets a great post draw this time. I think Sweet Serenade's got a chance to upset this field. She's run once at Keeneland in a similar race, a 2 other than allowance last spring with Tyler Gaffalione aboard, and was 9-2 and ran a good 3rd. Now we're looking at 15-1 in the morning line. Part of that's we don't get Gaffalione, but Alvarado is certainly a capable rider. But we know the horse likes the course, has some excuses down at Gulfstream recently. I like Sweet Serenade. I'm on the island. Nobody else has her anywhere. If she can win this race, we really separate ourselves from the pack in the pick 4s and pick 5. Certainly horses you want to use in here. Flirting Bridge, even money in the morning line. Brendan Walsh. Look, this is a classy mare. She comes out of the E.P. Taylor, the Canadian. 2 big races up at Woodmine last fall. Those weren't as strong a races as some years, but Rougier, Moira are definitely top-class fillies. She got put up the 2nd by disqualification, Flirting Bridge. If she's ready to go for Brendan Walsh, she's going to be tough to beat in here, but it's a tough post position. But like we said, you're looking for Gulfstream horses and horses who are coming off the layoff for the year. So that means the 2, that means the 11. Also eligible 14, Lovely Princess, certainly one you want to keep an eye on. Horse who's won over the course if she was able to draw into the field. But I think in this race, you take the 2, you take the 11, you got the 2 big prices, and you just go with those 2, and you try to ride them to the winner's circle. Intra-race, you're looking, I think, at a really nice possibility of, 2 to win, 2-11 exacta box. Then maybe start to try to separate those 2 when you're in the wagering. If you're trying to get into the tries or the supers, I don't play the supers, but in the tries, 11 all 2, 11 2 all, where if the favorite gets in there or good price play, the 2 runs 3rd and gets split by somebody, you've got a shot at a nice trifecta. In a big field, again, let those losing tickets pay for the winning tickets and let the math work for you. So 2 and 11 horses that I'm going to try to play as often as I can and in as many combinations as I can in race number 7. It also gets to a late daily double because I think in this spot, if we can get the 2 in, we get a little win money, we get a little exacta money, we play back up in the exactas and the tries. But if we can get the winner here, we also want to try to hit the late double because I don't think there's a lot of combinations in the last race that you need to play. This looks like it's, 10, 1, and 7 to me in the finale. And so if I can play some doubles to the 10, 1, and 7, I think we've got it covered pretty well. And if you look across, almost everybody has the same 3 horses here, right? 10, 1, and 7. High heater is for Bob Hess, Tyler Gaffleone. They teamed up to win via Santa Anita with a horse who looked kind of similar on paper earlier or on opening weekend. They're back at it again. That could be a very live one. Caramel Chip the 1 comes off an exceptionally fast race, 108 and 4. The 95 Buyer, if that's your kind of thing. In victory last time out for Jose D'Angelo. Irad Ortiz rides on this Gulfstream shipper. Caramel Chip would absolutely be no surprise in here. And the 7-2 Worlds, all he's done is won 3 in a row. And high percentage trainer Brittany Vandenberg brings this one in from Chicago. Probably could have run back at Hawthorne, but now they're going for a little bit bigger purse, a little more prestige. 50 grander here for a starter allowance type. And when you're eligible for the starter and you've won 3 in a row, that's a pretty confident ship. I like to see that with 2 Worlds. So I could see any one of those 3 win in the finale. If I can get the 2 home in race number 7, though, that's what I'm looking for in that late daily double plays. My 3 keys of the day. That late daily double, I would use the 2 and the 7th, and then with the 3 logical horses, the 10, the 1, and the 7 in race number 8. So that's going to wrap up the 8-race program for Wednesday. Again, a reminder, first post is at 1 o'clock. If you don't catch the Keeneland Look Ahead live on the night before a day's races, remember, as soon as it's over, it's archived on YouTube. It's archived on Twitter and social media outlets. So all you got to do is go back and watch it at your own leisure then. So check it out tomorrow as you get ready for a card. Bank them and go back. Maybe there's something to a particular race, fast forward through them and get to the race that you want to get a little more information on when you dig in and handicap a little bit deeper tomorrow as we get closer to the races and see where the opinions may be. And, again, that betting strategy, I think that's such a big part of this as much as telling you who I like and the stats and trends. You can get the stats and trends, many of you know, at Keeneland.com in the expert pick section. I put all the stats and trends for each race there. As I have for the past 30 meets at Keeneland. So that's kind of a staple of what we do. And this newer version here of the Look Ahead podcast began last year. So really happy with our 3rd meeting doing the podcast. Hope you enjoyed tonight's. And we'll be back tomorrow night on Thursday at 8:30 Eastern live to look ahead to the Friday card at Keeneland. And as we told you earlier, the Friday program includes the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile, including 2-time Breeders' Cup champion Modern Games. Can't wait to see him in action at Keeneland on a Friday. Any news that comes up tomorrow during the live racing day, we'll update you on the podcast as we look ahead towards Friday. On behalf of everybody at Keeneland and Horse Player Now, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Have a great night. Talk to you tomorrow.